Hey there, everybody. Welcome to our review of American Horror Story New York City, episodes 7 and 8. We are now like super close to the finale.
Yeah.
There's still a decent amount that happened, but I'll just say from the start, like I'm pretty surprised by a number of the different things that we saw in these two episodes, especially like the timing of some of them.
I was really surprised too. We'll get more into it of sort of what the overall theme of this really is. Like Whiteley was part of it, and it's not too surprising that they wrapped him up earlier, but I didn't think it would be as early as it was.
Yeah, like that's the thing that's blowing my mind here. But before we go further into that, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Of course, we will be here to talk all about the finale, the two episodes that are airing next week, and
Mhm.
we don't want you guys to miss that.
Absolutely. We're also going to be covering Yellowstone here. There's a lot of good stuff coming up at the channel. Hit that subscribe button. Follow us over on Instagram, Matt and Jess TV.
Okay, let's just start with Whiteley since we're already here. I thought maybe this was gonna be like a start of episode 9 death or like something along those lines. Because Whiteley, he had already established that his sort of end goal was to bring this Sentinel to the Pride Parade and
Mhm.
have like this big showcase. And I didn't necessarily think we were gonna get all the way there, but I thought we were gonna get kind of sort of the way there, and then just like in the first handful of minutes, he's just like, "Oh, he's gone. He's been shot. That's it."
I I think I was hopeful that we were actually going to get that whole big the Sentinel at the parade and that message was going to get out there. But I like the way that they did it, where the person who got the message out there was actually Gino using his words. I didn't need to be as violent and gruesome as it was becoming with Whiteley and what he was trying to say. And I really liked that wrap up at the end where Gino was typing it out and he was kind of like, this is a bigger problem. This is something that needs to be out there, that does need to be said. Yes, he went about the wrong way, but the message is still there and the message is still important. So I'm going to do it the right way.
I will say this at the end of, this past week's episode, a lot of important people seemingly already knew that Whiteley was the Mai Tai killer, so I will say that it would have probably been very unrealistic if he was just sort of like, "Well, I'll see you guys later," and he just like wanders off and then like nobody is able to find him or track him down.
Yeah, it felt also a little bit strange. He's got three guys that are all like strapped down in his lair. One guy. And I know he's a big guy and he got to jump on some of them, but at the same time, I'm like, wow, okay. I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of things like pacing wise with the whole Whiteley story that don't make a whole lot of sense. I think that if they had sort of paced out maybe last week's episodes a little bit differently, then maybe the climax here could have been a little bit better. Like,
Yeah, it felt like that whole wrap up with Gino and what he was writing, and then having the paper go out. It felt like a final scene, like
yeah,
of the whole series. I was like, man, this is such a great scene. It was written so well, like it's so powerful. And I know that like I said, the overall arc of this season is more about the virus and what is going on. But this is important too of what was going on, of how a lot of people feel inside and having that voice. Gino is kind of the voice for this whole show and a lot of what people are feeling and thinking.
all of this, it kind of reminds me in some sort of weird way of like Freak Show when they got rid of Twisty, like kind of midway through that season. And it felt like Twisty was like the ultimate bait and switch where they were trying to really bring about a story that was a little bit more elaborate than just him. But it
Mhm.
was like when it happened, I was really like, okay, where is the show gonna go from here? And I do think Freak Show stumbled without Twisty. I mean, we'll see exactly how these final episodes tend to end because there is enough other stuff going on, but I do
Mhm.
have a lot of big time questions as well. Okay, let's just talk for a second about the end with the deer and that
Oh, here we
sequence.
go. Okay.
Okay, I thought it was beautifully done. Like
Yeah.
I thought it was really I got more emotional watching what was happening to Theo than I really expected. But at the same time, like you mentioned how the end with Gino and the paper was kind of a finale.
Yeah.
This was kind of a finale to me. It's tragic, it's sad, it's devastating. It's like, what else needs to be said at this point?
Yeah, Theo's been getting sicker and sicker and sicker, and this has been happening to the community. We all know what was happening at that time, and it was affecting the community really bad at that time. I mean, there's still no cure. We're all still dealing with it, but at that time, nobody really knew a lot about it or what was going on or how it was being transmitted, and people were really confused. People were left in the dark a lot. And so to see Theo, this character who's gone through such a huge transformation of where we first saw him, and he was kind of like,
Yeah.
I'm the guy, and he's with Sam and sort of has all this money and just doesn't care about anything, to where he's really gotten deeply involved with Adam and their relationship, and just these deep feelings and more self-reflection in himself of what he wants for himself. To see also this progressing, his sickness progressing, we all, I think, knew where this was going. It was done beautifully, it really was, but it does feel like this maybe should have been the next episode, like a little bit closer to the end, because he is somebody that a lot of us have gotten really invested in, Theo, and his story and his progression to get to where he was. To then lose him was pretty devastating.
I needed a little bit more story to get to this point. It doesn't change how emotional the end of it was
Mhm.
because it really, really was. Like I think the stuff, the deer sequence with the everybody wearing the antlers and all that, like that was the most visually like stunning thing this season has done.
Mhm.
But these 2 episodes this week especially, they were really, really short, and I'm just sort of sitting here being like, "Okay, I understand you guys only wanna do, like, a 10-episode season and all that, that's fine, but these aren't even a full hour when you're throwing in commercials, and you're just sorta, like, sitting here wondering, couldn't we have like 5 more minutes of Theo? Like, or could you cut
Yeah.
out 5 minutes of Fran and everything going on with the cards last week and put some more Theo story in there at that
Yeah,
point?
I feel bad complaining about it again, but like that tarot thing just needs
Yeah.
to stop. We had a whole episode of it. We don't need to see her flipping over the cards and then go back to Theo. Theo was more than enough. It was so powerful the way that it was without that, that it could have even taken it from a 9 to a 10.
I think the big question now for these final episodes in particular is that it's clear at this point, okay, the American Horror Story here is the virus. Like that
Yeah.
is really what this show is trying to tell us.
Yes.
We're very aware of it. I think a number of the characters at this point are becoming very aware of it. So
Mhm.
then what further message needs to be said? Like, is the next story all about Gino trying to get the word out, or is it related to Hannah in some degree? Like, how do you sort of conclude this so that there's further conflict and tension and an ending that really makes a bigger impact than this episode did?
Yeah, because there's still everything with Big Daddy, and I think at this point we're all sort of in
Yes.
agreement. He's not real. He's in everyone's minds. He is showing up when people are having a lot of fear. We even saw Hannah on the phone calling her mom, being like, "Hey, I know we haven't spoken in a really long time, but I'm really afraid." And then there's Big Daddy in the window, and we've
Yeah.
sort of seen that a lot, where people get really fearful and then poof, here's Big Daddy. So they took it really far in this last episode, where Big Daddy is now attacking Adam, Gino. We saw Pat shoot him in the head, and then they're all sitting in the kitchen, left him unattended, and they're
Yeah.
just Adam's like, I need to know who he is. I need to take the mask off. I'm like, wait a second, you guys didn't do that? Why wouldn't you have done that? It's a little convenient so that when you go back and oh no, he's gone. It's just like, okay, come on. Like, the writing could have been way tighter on that in a way that I would believe it. Because if somebody was trying to kill me, and then I was like, they're finally down, the first thing I'm doing is removing the mask. And I think a lot of people, that's going to be a thing. That's like, yeah, I don't believe that. All three of them were like, we'll just leave them there. We'll go to the kitchen. Maybe we'll make a phone call. Maybe we'll, make a drink. We'll just sit around, talk about it, and leave them unattended.
Okay, so Scooby-Doo was one of my favorite cartoons when I was a kid. I love Scooby-Doo. I used to watch it all the time. And this is the Scooby-Doo effect here because I remember growing up, they would catch a lot of these, masked ghosts and ghouls and all these
Mhm.
horror, and then they would like wait until the police were there or somebody else and give this big speech where they're like, "And now we'll find out who you really are." And I was
Right.
always like, why? If I was like Shaggy or like one of these, I would be like ripping that mask off immediately. I don't care if the police are. I don't care. It's like this. I don't care. You don't need a speech. Just rip the mask off. I know, Big Daddy's a metaphor, a spirit, whatever we want to call him, but it's just like we want to believe that to these characters, Big Daddy is realistic. We want to believe that Big Daddy is like to some extent real. So that could have been just handled a little bit better. And yeah, like
Yeah, they've really handled like Barb, who we've seen come back, and Pat's really, really dealing with that and feeling this guilt, and she's sort of manifesting herself as a ghost and trying to come at him, and then he'll sort of wake up from it and she's gone. I think if they had played with that a little bit the same way with Big Daddy, them having him like actually attacking people and touching people and throwing people, I think it makes it's going to be a lot harder when we do get to the end where they're like, "Oh, he's in everybody's mind." It's like, "Okay, well then who threw Gino under the table? Like what, he threw himself? Like it's in his mind?" Like that, because that was then a hallucination of three people all together. So what's the explanation? Drugs maybe. I don't know.
okay, prediction time here for the
Okay.
finale. I
All
mean,
right.
I'll get on that tinfoil hat for this because I feel
Okay.
I know a little bit about what this show likes to do over the years. I
They like to not stick the landing at the end.
So with that in mind, this is where I think it could be going. Some people may like this, some people may hate this, but they're going to, the truth is going to come out about the virus. It's going to start like, surfacing everywhere.
Yeah.
Somebody's actually going to, quote unquote, kill Big Daddy again. And then in the finale, like let's say it's Pat who rips off the mask underneath Big Daddy is going to be Pat. Or if Gino does it, the mask is going to be Gino, and so on and so forth. It's all going to just be, all right, this is me conquering my fear. Big Daddy is gone. I don't have to have this shame anymore. The end.
100%. That is where we're going with this. Big Daddy is going to be somebody that if he actually gets unmasked, it will be yourself, that it is
Yeah.
your own fear, and that it does feel like that's where we're going. If we don't get that ending, I'll be shocked.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this show will surprise. They surprised with Whiteley being killed off at the point in which he was, but it just feels like you guys really want to hit that nail on the head. I understand it. Like this is a
Yeah.
very powerful message this season is
Yes.
trying to bring across.
Yeah.
It's much more charged, I think, in that way than a lot of other seasons have been. Like just comparing this to like how silly 1984 was most of the time or last season.
Yeah, there's a really big message in this season, and they're really wrapping it in sort of this film noir detective feel of the whole season. But there's a really big message this season. And yeah, normally there'll be some messages that are in it, but then other seasons there'll be aliens. So, it is what it is.
Well, we'll be back to see if they do actually stick that landing, but go ahead and hit the subscribe button so you guys don't miss that. Our upcoming coverage of Yellowstone, a whole lot
Yep.
more. We'll see you here next time.